Welcome to the June 2023 committee meetings of Dubbo Regional Council. I advise that Council is now web streaming its standing committees and council meetings live to the internet, and as such all those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements. Your attendance at this meeting is your acceptance of the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archive of the recorded council meetings and standing committee meetings. I now declare the June 2023 Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee meeting open, the time being 5:31 p.m. First item is IPEC 23/19, Acknowledgement of Country from Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Councillor Black. I would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are traditional custodians of the land. I would also like to pay respect to the elders past, present and emerging of the Wiradjuri Nation and extend their respect to other Aboriginal people from other nations who are present. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burns. The next item is IPEC 23/20, Leave of Absence. There being no councillors absent tonight, we'll move on to the next item, which is IPEC 23/21, Conflicts of Interest. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare? There being none, we'll move on. The next item is item IPEC 22/22, Presentation on Dubbo Mudgee Sydney Passenger Rail Proposal. I invite Mr Mike Sweeney to the floor to begin his presentation. Thank you.
Testing mic volume.
Yep, that's good.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. My name's Mike Sweeney. I'm representing a community group, Mudgee Regional Rail. And there is, yes, on the screen there, a little bit of what we're on about. Basically, we are committed to re-establishing passenger rail to Mudgee, but including Dubbo. And of course, handling of freight, of which we've identified 250,000 tonnes of freight at the moment, which is coming partly through our roads and towns and partly through your roads. We'll be aware that the Saxa Road has been badly damaged by heavy log traffic. The log traffic is 202,000 tonnes a year, and that's ongoing. Could be increased because of the plantings that are coming online. The issue of passenger rail, of course, is another one. You are fortunate in having this wonderful maintenance and commissioning establishment being built, but I think that those that planned it didn't look at the fact that you need lots and lots of rail space to be able to commission these trains and fit them out and test them. There are thousands of hours of testing involved, and the Western Line, the main Western Line, of course, is fairly saturated with traffic, and this sort of issue in the near future could be a problem unless there's more line space. The East-West Line, of course, is also heavily trafficked. So the Mudgee Line, I'll use the word loosely in the Mudgee Line because its real name is the Wabbaga Line or the Kandos-Golgong, the Ralston-Golgong Line. Likewise, if I use the word Mudgee, I mean Mudgee Regional Council. What a mouthful that is. So I'll just, whenever you hear Mudgee, it's the Mudgee Regional Council, and in relation to the line, it's the Mudgee Line. So that is a very small line, a very small link, which would in fact give a dual line to Dubbo all the way from Lithgow. Those are probably aware that there is a dual track from Sydney to Lithgow, runs very efficiently with trains nose to tail. After Lithgow, or actually to Wallerawang, it becomes a single track. Whereas if this small section of line from Ralston to Golgong was open, Dubbo would have a dual track system which would relieve all the freight bottlenecks that sometimes happen, which would no doubt be of interest to all your exporters of grain and meat and so on. The issue of not having that open, of course, means that, getting back to our original issue, we can't run a Dubbo Mudgee Lithgow train. I'd like to get the timetable up there, what we propose. Could the young lady go to the timetable? You may be able to see that timetable. It comes out at about 7 hours, which is comparable to the existing timetable that you people are using on the afternoon departure. And that would save the citizens of this community having to spend 2 nights in Sydney to do personal, legal, medical, whatever. simply take the early morning departure from Dubbo and arrive in Sydney very early afternoon, do business if they wish, and then take the early morning train, the existing train, back to Dubbo the next morning, or spend more time in Sydney and get the return service, which you can see there on the right of the screen, back to Dubbo. So that's why we're here. We're looking for support. Midwest Regional Council has offered support, and I might just say that our group is a non-profit group, an incorporated body of about 8 people, and 4 of our members are in fact on the 355 rail committee of Mudgee Council. So we're not council, but we work closely with council and we have the support of council. So we are seeking, the bottom line is we're seeking the support of Dubbo Council and of course its community to get this line open. Now I know someone's going to ask me how much it is. I'll wait for that question. However, not to open it sooner rather than later is a no-brainer, because one of the previous transport ministers said that line is too strategic to be left closed, and that was a quote. So it will be open sooner or later, and we hope sooner. So that's about all. We are seeking support as a community, and the Mudgee regional community. We're in the same electorate. We have the same cultural connection. People from Mudgee shop in Dubbo regularly, and I know in my small business a lot of people from Dubbo come to Mudgee and shop and do things. So we are part of a community, and that's why we're seeking the support of you people and your community to put pressure on Transport New South Wales, that seem to have turned blinkers on this line. We have been battling with 2 years to get some sort of dialogue going, and pretty well gone nowhere. So with a little bit more support from Dubbo Council and Dubbo community, we reckon we can make it happen. So I think I've said enough. There is a stick diagram, thank you, stick diagram of the route, which would give it, as I referred to a little earlier, a dual track all the way from Lithgow to Dubbo. And the little section in red there is the section which is intact but deemed as non-operational. So I might sort of conclude there and again say we are seeking your support, and I'll throw it open for any questions, and that's about it. Thank you so much, councillors, staff, and Mr Mayor, councillors, staff.
Well, thank you for that very comprehensive report, Mr Sweeney. I'll just throw it open to any councillors. Do any councillors have any questions? Councillor Ivey.
Yeah, thank you. Mr Sweeney, you say you want the line opened, but do you mean you want the line built? I mean, what's involved in turning sods and over what distances?
Very briefly, the line is there. The rails are in perfect condition. There's lots of new sleepers and 3 new bridges. The cost, we've had it costed by a professional engineering organisation called Lycopodium, very experienced railway builders, and they are quoting an estimate of 32 million, and they're quoting a time from the green light to running trains as 8 months. So the line is already there.
From Dubbo to Golgong?
Yes.
Right.
But not from Golgong to Ralston, and then from Ralston through to Lithgow.
And so it's...
That stick diagram, if I could have that back again, sort of shows the distance. Pretty much the same. It is actually about 19 k's longer to go through Golgong, but in railway terms, the gradients are a big issue. The route through Orange and Bathurst has 2 pretty serious gradients, which is very heavy on fuel and brakes coming the other way. The route through Golgong has only 1 serious gradient, and that is from Ralston up to Lithgow. So from railway terms, it is a very viable thing. Even though it's 19 k's longer, the cost to the operators would probably be less, and the time would be very much the same.
Thank you, Mr Sweeney. Councillor Ivey, any other thoughts, comments? Any other? Councillor Etheridge.
Yeah, I like the rail idea. It takes a lot of traffic off the roads. You're looking for our support. What is it exactly you want us to do for you?
Yes, well, that's part of the whole issue, to take traffic off the road,
Yeah.
especially heavy traffic. At the moment, you people are suffering a little bit of this 200,000 tonnes of logs through the Saxa Road, or were.
Yeah.
Most of it's coming through Mudgee Town. right past all the schools, down through Duro Street, and don't forget it's full and empty. B-doubles of logs going south, there's B-doubles coming back, empty. So it is a very high volume of traffic. Now remember, what rail does best, high tonnage, point to point. That's what it does best. And it shouldn't really be done on road for a lot of reasons, safety, amenity, road damage, and the environment, because as the late Tim Fisher said, to run a steel wheel on a steel rail uses 84% less fuel per tonne than a rubber wheel on a bitumen road. And those figures are pretty well agreed worldwide. So saves for fuel, safe for the environment, safe for amenity, for all of our communities.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything further, Councillor Etheridge?
I still want to know, how can we help you?
Community and council support at a state level. We have a new government. The present Minister for Regional Roads and Transport, Jenny Atchison, has visited us. She hasn't made any promises or any denials, just shown a level of interest. And if we can keep that level of interest going, someone will press the button and the Transport New South Wales boffins will say, right, let's open it.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
it's a political issue.
Yeah.
And if we as a community, or you and us are a community, keep the pressure on the state government, and bear in mind, people, 32 million, even if that's not quite right, is nothing in infrastructure terms when they're talking billions. And the new maintenance depot out here, as you're aware, is 1.8 billion. To open that line, to do the training for drivers, the commissioning of the trains, there are 119 new train carriages over the next few years. That's a lot of work going up and down the track with ballast of water in them to assimilate passenger loads, all this thing. It's all done, but at the moment it couldn't be done on the main west line.
Yeah.
Difficult to do it on the east-west line through Golgong towards Fandy Hollow. This other line, as I said a little while ago, it will definitely be open. We want it open sooner to get the logs off the road and to progress the idea of the morning departure from Dubbo to Sydney Express, beyond Lithgow, limited stops, maybe Katoomba and Parramatta, the timetable that you saw. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mann, did I see you flinch before? Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Black. Thanks, Mr. Sweeney, for your presentation. The concept is sensational. I'm just interested in what sort of business case has been put behind this at this stage. You threw the numbers around to the various freight that's coming through, etc. I'm sure Transport for New South Wales or whoever gets to put their hand in the pocket will be looking for some sort of return on investment. Is there any of that modelling done as yet, or is it purely concept stage at this point?
The business case is simply passenger rail doesn't stack up. There's no doubt about that. It doesn't stack up anywhere. City Rail in Sydney loses $1 million a day, so that won't stack up. It's about freight. And with 200,000 tonnes of logs and other freight as well, minerals and so forth, it would stack up. And the logs alone on that route would be $20 a tonne cheaper than the present road usage. $20 times 200,000, that's $4 million a year the forestry industry would save. So it does equate very well in a business sense. Another little one, if I may, it's a thorn in the political side of the government, has been for many years, that the Armidale-Tamworth line, a highly maintained, high-quality railway line from Armidale to Tamworth, carries only one passenger car per day. It has no freight whatsoever. In other words, it's not getting freight revenue. But if this little bit we're talking about was open and those logs were diverted, the Armidale-Tamworth line would again be gaining revenue, which is good for any government.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure that you've convinced me as yet. A lot of anecdotal facts and figures there. I'm just wondering, has there been any formalised business case put behind what you're proposing as yet?
Well, we
A lot of good ideas there, and I got to
Yep.
say I think it's a great idea, but I'm sure there'll be a lot more information required.
a lot more, and that's why we have Transport of New South Wales experts that do this sort of thing. We can only put the facts in front of them, and they've got to act
So it's very
on
much
that.
concept stage at this point.
Sorry?
It's very much concept stage right now.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
Yes, it is concept, especially the passenger concept. That is conceptual. But the whole issue, of course, is the very first thing, we've got to get the line shiny, and that is the opening of the track. If the track is open, it will happen. And you may remember when the Alice Springs-Darwin line was built, the argument against that was it's only there to carry beer to Darwin. Well, that line has been profitable ever since. It was supposedly a white elephant, but it's open up new mineral mines all the way along. Cattle is no longer on road trains. It's just one of those things. Get the line shiny and the rest will follow. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr Sweeney.
Thank
Is there
you,
any more-
Councillor
oh, there's
Black.
one more.
Oh,
Hang on,
sorry.
one. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm just wondering what sort of help you already got from the Midwestern Regional Council, because you said you're working with them very closely. So what sort of support they provided?
Midwest Regional Council have a rail committee. 4 of our members are members of that committee. At their December meeting, they pledged support, not financial support, but support in kind. There was some disquiet among councillors that the community wouldn't want it. Now, we did a survey, our little group, and we 400 or 500 was written survey by the people, handwritten. The rest was online with SurveyMonkey. We had that survey professionally audited, and there would have been more than 5 or 6 out of the 4,000 that said they didn't want the line open. 94% or 96, some figure like that. Now look, people, I will email a full copy of the survey to your council and they can perhaps distribute it to you, but it was overwhelming. And our local council, when they got the results of that survey, said, gee, this is a pretty good idea, because the public were behind it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Mr Sweeney. Thanks for making the effort to come over.
And thanks for your time, councillors, and an apology from my co-presenter, not councillor, John Bentley, who unfortunately was ill tonight and was unable to attend.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Food for thought. We move on to the next item, which is item IPEC 22/23, Building Summary, May 2023. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Director, Development and Environment, Councillor Chowdhury, and seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to speak to that motion?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or debate, councillors? There being none, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. There are no further items for consideration of the Infrastructure, Planning and Environment Committee, and I declare the meeting closed, the time being 5:48 p.m.
I now open the June 2023 Culture and Community Committee meeting at the time being 5:59 p.m. Item CCC 23/40, leave of absence. There's no leave of absence, so I'll move on. Item CCC 23/21, conflicts of interest. Councillor Chowdhury.
Yeah, I have a non-pecuniary significant conflict of interest for CCC 23/52, as I know DCFM Program Director Richard Martin, so I'll leave the room. Thank you.
Any other conflicts of interest? Councillor Dickerson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've, in relation to the same item, CCC 23/52, the financial assistance request, I'll declare a non-pecuniary less than significant interest, as I have a tax segment on DCFM, but it won't impair my ability to make decisions on this particular subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item CCC 23/42. I'm with it. Report of the Social Justice Advisory Committee meeting on the 13th of December. Councillor Wells, second by Councillor Mann. Councillor Wells, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Are we all right? Item CCC 23/43, report of the Youth Council meetings on the 7th of September and the 7th of March 23 and the 4th of April 23. Can I have a councillor move that? Councillor Wells, second by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Wells, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All those in favour? Oh, sorry. Any other discussions or debate?
Just a technicality, Madam Chair. Point 2 had the report meeting held on 7 September 2023 be noted. I'm not sure if we've held that meeting on 7 September 2023 yet.
Oh, in my run sheet it's got 22.
Business papers say 2022, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, but recommendation minutes.
There.
Oh. It's an administration error. We apologise and we'll fix that. Any other comments or debate? All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 23/44, report of the Wiradjuri Tourism Project Committee, meetings on the 12th of December 22 and the 17th of April 23. Moved by Councillor Burns, second by Councillor Wells. Councillor Burns, would you like to speak to that motion?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other discussions or debate? All those in favour? Sorry, Councillor Ivey.
No, I was just going to ask a question in relation to it, but
Sorry, are we allowed to go back? Yep, Councillor Ivey.
I was just wondering, again, in common with some of the earlier committees, there was either a lack of a quorum or a lack of, and here we've got a lack of agenda items. Is that is that a problem, or is that an issue? Is there some sort of lack of support, or is it not? I would have thought there'd be lots of things that could be talked about and discussed and resolved, but is that not the case?
Well, the last meeting we had. Oh, sorry.
Councillor Burns?
Sorry. Sorry, Madam Chair. Through you, the last meeting that we had at the Reconciliation Action Plan meeting. Sorry, I'm talking about the wrong thing. So I can't answer that for you because the Wiradjuri Tourism Project meeting I don't attend.
I'll throw that question to Councillor Wells.
Good one.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, there's been a few things with this particular meeting in deciding whether it consolidates with other meetings because it's specifically about the development of the Wiradjuri Tourism Centre.
Sorry, Pam.
No, that's okay.
Sorry, Councillor Wells.
No, that's fine. So just that's why there has been some sort of inconsistencies with the meeting, and there's still some things occurring with the meeting in terms of the replanning. Probably best to throw to either Director Chair, Craig.
Yeah. Through to the CEO.
Yeah,
Through
I'll
to- yes.
pass it on to Mr Arms to answer that question.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So as to progress of the project, yep. So we are in discussions at the moment with two of the funding bodies. So Create and Infrastructure New South Wales. We've been doing quite a bit of work in that space. I think in the coming period of time, we'll have a much clearer position on where we're at there and recommendations and options to take us forward to resolve any problems that we have.
Any other?
I might just add, Madam Chair, and so what I think for other councils, what Councillor Wells was alluding to, without that clear purpose, there's been a lack of buy-in. So because we've got this uncertainty and we're having those negotiations, as Mr Arms said, with the funding bodies to get that clarity, once we get that clarity of purpose, it'll be easier to get that buy-in of certain members of those committees, if that makes sense.
Anything else, Councillor Ivey?
So when you say the buy-in and discussions with the funding bodies, which is the subject of our one of our earlier considerations about the review of the projects, where's that up to? What's the progress of discussions with the funding bodies about decisions of what can be done and what can't be done?
I'll ask the CEO.
Through to Mr Arms.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have had discussions with Create. We're about to have meetings with infrastructure. It's about defining where we're at now as compared to the plans, the initial plans. Things have evolved and changed since the initiation of the project, and so we're working hard to get that clarity. What can we produce here? What can we generate? To what level? What are the options available to us with the resources that we have available? How does that match against the initial projects? What options now do we have going forward? And that's what we're working at pulling together. And so I would say that certainly over the course of this month, June, we would be in a much better position to talk about that, to present that.
Just to the CEO.
If we could just add, so we've got so we need clear direction from particularly one of the funding bodies, Create New South Wales, because their funding is allocated to a particular elements of the Rotary Tourism Centre. So we need to understand what flexibility we have, whether we can match that with Infrastructure New South Wales. So that's in some ways a stop-go point. So we need that clarity, and we haven't got that formal advice yet. So they're the discussions that Mr Arms is alluding to. So as he said, they're progressing well, but we need the formal advice from those funding agencies.
And once we, sorry, Madam Chair, can I keep going? And once we get that advice, is it a real reset situation? Do we really sit back and start almost, not start again, but review the whole program and process and reset the whole projected outcomes? And if so, does that come back to council?
Last one's the easy one, yes. So once we get that clarity, it's about the deliverability of within our funding envelope, and there'll be some choices in front of councils once we get that certainty around the funding agency's formal position. And then that will give us now, as councils may recall, a lot of costings have shifted upwards in terms of buildings, and indeed somewhat of a bespoke building as well since the original grant was received. So we'll have some clarity around the way forward and what council's choices are in that way forward. So the critical part is that formal feedback from the agencies, then we'll have that clarity we bring for council, and ultimately there's some options in front of council in that regard. So yes, it'll come back to council.
Thank you.
Any other questions or debate? Right. Put all those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Right. Item CCC 23/45, report of the Multicultural Advisory Committee meeting on the 8th of May 23, moved by Councillor Wright, second by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to that?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just a couple of comments. We had, again, that Multicultural Advisory Committee is always well attended, and we had a couple of guest speakers actually at that particular event. The first one was a speaker from the sorry, I always go back to that report again here, from the Indian Support Centre. And Mr Varigonda talked a bit about what they actually do, and it's titled the Indian Support Centre, but they certainly help residents of a number of different countries in settling into the particular area. And obviously there's a bit of a focus on Sydney, but they understand that there's a large range and a large number of new residents to Australia choosing regional locations, and certainly there's no secret that Dubbo's been home to a lot of new residents, and they see an opportunity maybe to branch out into this particular region and provide provide all sorts of services, whether they be advice with regards to law or helping with accommodation or even so much as certifying documentation, everything in between. And certainly they'd have a place in this particular region. So that was quite an interesting presentation, and I think they're actively seeking a place to call home at the moment in Dubbo. So a great one for those new residents of the city. The other one was a presentation from Mr. Khalid Taleb from Connecting Community Services, and they just talked about an event which I was lucky enough to host, to attend a couple of days ago, and it was basically just to bring together all members of the multicultural community and celebrate their cultures. And I think there was they sold nearly 300 odd people in attendance at the convention centre. Unfortunately, Councillor Chowdhury was unable to attend that event, but really well attended, and I'd love to think that if there was another one of those events held in the future, that we'd see a number of our original residents turn up, or Australian residents turn up, as opposed to our new residents. So it was really interesting, plenty of food, good times and people. So those type of events are obviously gathering some momentum off the back of these people with certain levels of energy that they want to showcase what their cultures bring to Dubbo. So it was a well-attended meeting, a couple of really interesting items.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Any other questions or debate? Councillor Ivey?
Madam Chair. I'm interested, the Indian Support Centre, I was aware of the, which I thought was a fantastic organisation here in Dubbo, which is the Orascon, the Irana residents of the Indian subcontinent, I think it is. Is there is that a bit of doubling up, or do we know, or is it just, do we need one or the other?
Through to Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And actually, totally separate organisation, and they have a separate program to run to this our town. So they got funded. The Indian Support Centre, they are funded to promote Dubbo and attract people, those in city, to bringing in Dubbo and trying to settle in Dubbo. So they have a different workshop and different program agenda too. Thank you.
Any other questions or debate? I'll put all those in favour. I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 23/46, report of the Culture and Tourism Facility Committee, meeting on the 10th of May. Moved by Councillor Wright, second by Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to that?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just going back to that one again as well. Just again, just a call out actually to staff with respect to that particular item. There was in a previous meeting of that particular committee, there was some feedback provided with respect to the new residents guide, and the fact that there was a bit of information in that particular guide that talked about sporting groups, but it didn't actually have some specific information about cultural groups and creative type groups, and staff responded to that, and they've been able to include that information in those new residents guides, I think by way of a QR code now in those booklets, but also an online presence as well, so people can go to there. It can be constantly updated by staff. So great example of how those sort of committees can work, just by providing a bit of information and feedback back to staff. So well done with respect to that, because people might think these committees are in place. They're not just a token committee. They certainly are there to provide feedback and assistance for councillors and staff in what they do on a day-to-day. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Any other questions or debate? All right, I'll put all those in favour. Declare the motion carried. Item CCC 23/47, report of the Spark Committee meeting on the 15th of May 23. Moved by Councillor Spark. No, I haven't done Spark. I did the Cultural Tourism Facility Committee. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Wright. Thank you. So, item CCC 23/47, moved by Councillor Wright, second by Councillor Black. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to 47.
Certainly, I'd like to rescind my comments made on the previous item and reiterate the fact that I would like to call out actions of one of the staff who did take on some advice from a previous meeting there with regards to the new residents guide and have created an online creative database which mimics the one that's actually in the book for the sporting clubs. So again, a committee which has listened to the members of those committees and taken on that feedback and actioned a particular item accordingly. So well done. And thank you for listening for that for the second time. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions or debate? All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 23/48, report of the Aquatics Working Party meeting on the 15th of May 23. Moved by Councillor Black, second by Councillor Wells. Councillor Black, would you like to speak to that?
Only very briefly, thank you, Madam Chair. It was a good roll-up again of the people on the committee, and once again there was a lot of discussion around what can be done to get a 50-metre indoor heated pool that's year-round, and everyone was going to go away and do some homework and come back with what they had found from other aquatic centres / pools around the country for the next meeting. Thank you.
Any other questions or debate? All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 23/49, report of the Wellington Town Committee meetings held on the 15th of December 22 and the 15th of May 23. Moved by Councillor Ivey, second by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Ivey, do you wish to speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In particular, the meeting on the 15th of May, which was almost an extraordinary meeting of the Wellington Town Committee. It was more of a workshop to look at the upcoming, or the draft budget, the 23-24 budget. And it was very good. The meeting was well attended, and I think particularly the meeting appreciated the attendance of senior staff, CEO and directors. I really think that it created a lot of interest, a lot of good discussion, and a lot of appreciation too that staff did take such interest in that Wellington committee. The items really we dealt with were, as I say, the upcoming budget, and really the resolution out of the meeting was that committee members should go away and make individual submissions via the website to the budget. And I think that, again, just talking anecdotally to some of the staff and the people that those submissions have been made. And so I think really it was a very good exercise in stimulating a bit of community interest and some positive action. So I was really pleased with that meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Any Councillor Martin?
Thanks, Councillor. Just a comment on Councillor Ivey's story of that meeting there. I was particularly impressed by a lot of the presentations that came through on the budget papers. The amount of effort that some of those people have gone to has been outstanding when it comes to getting their point across, pictures, diagrams, drawings. So I just like to note that. I think it was a really big effort from the people that have participated from those various bodies.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Any other questions or debate or comments? Okay. All those in favour? Declare the motion carried. Item CCC 23/50, report of the Village Committee, meeting on the 17th of May 23. Moved by Councillor Ivey, second by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Ivey, do you wish to speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, just to make some comments about that Village Committee, it obviously, by definition, it represents some people from a very wide area within our LGA, and in some ways you might think, oh my goodness, that's going to be a bit unwieldy or a bit non-functional in some ways, but on the contrary, I think it really is some very definite interest and need for, a realisation that people can make a representation on their villages through this committee and that their voices are heard. So I think that, again, is a very useful exercise for those villages. So I support very much the functioning of that committee.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Any other comments or debate? Okay. All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 23/51, reports of the Reconciliation Action Plan Working Group, meetings held on the 13th of September 22, the 28th of March 23 and the 23rd of May 23. Moved by Councillor Burns, second by Councillor Wells. Councillor Burns, do you wish to speak to that one?
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. Just briefly, the last meeting we had of the Reconciliation Action Plan meeting, we were waiting to hear back from Reconciliation Australia, and we hadn't heard back, so the meeting was really short. And now we're just waiting to hear back from Reconciliation Australia. I believe they have gotten back to council, and I'm not sure of the details of that as yet. Just, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Burns. Any other comments or debate? Councillor Wells?
I'm just curious to, through the chair, in terms of when do we expect to hear back from RA about the support of the Reconciliation Action Plan?
Councillor Burns?
I believe that we've already heard back from Reconciliation Australia, but I haven't had that confirmed at this point. So until the next meeting, I won't know for sure.
I'll throw that question through to the CEO.
And through to Mr Arms, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we have received our feedback from Reconciliation Australia. It arrived on the afternoon of this last meeting, as a matter of fact. So our staff are combing through that at the moment, and we'll present a report with their recommendations as to our report based on the feedback from RA. So I'll get an update on that shortly, and we'll come back to council certainly for this next meeting, if not before.
Thank you. Any other comments or debate? Right, all those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 23/52, Financial Assistance Request, DCFM. Councillor Chowdhury has a...
Move it first.
Okay, sorry. Can I ask for a mover? Councillor Burns, second by Councillor...
Just point of order, Madam Chair, the recommendation as it stands in there, we can't move that because that's got an either-or option there. So we need someone to move a specific motion, either one of those or an alternative motion or something, but not what's in the business papers.
You threw me.
That's right.
But we do have two conflicts of interest.
But first move.
Okay. So can I have someone move an amendment? Alternative motion. Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That I'd like to move that before this council consider the request from Arana Broadcasters for the free loan of $100,000, that Arana Broadcasters be asked to provide council with some background information. That background information would include a current balance sheet for the organisation, copies of the profit and loss for the operation of the business for the last 3 years, 3 financial years, and that and lastly some information or details of the alternative sources of information, sources of finance which the organisation may have sought. And lastly, could we have a copy of the constitution of the organisation?
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Burns. Now, can I do the conflicts of interest? Yeah. Councillor Chowdhury has a conflict of interest.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chair,
Sorry.
I'd like to declare CCC 23/52 non-pecuniary significant interest, as I know DCFM Program Director Richard Martin personally. Thank you. And I'm leaving the room.
Councillor Dickinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll declare a non-pecuniary less than significant interest in this particular item, as I have a tech segment on DCFM, a regular tech segment, which started before I was on council, so I don't believe this will influence my voting on this particular matter.
Thank you. Councillor Ivey, did you wish to speak to your alternative motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, look, I don't think anyone in this room really doubts the benefits that community radio in Dubbo does offer the local community, so that I think that their request for finance should be given serious consideration. Financial assistance should be given serious consideration. But in making that serious consideration, I don't think this council can do so without having some background as to the financial position of the applicant. I mean, just take two extremes. If they've got $1 million in the bank and are making a big profit every year, then that would be a different situation than if they've got no money in the bank and no hope of servicing the loan of $100,000. So I think we just need to know where within those two ridiculous extremes the organisation lies, and when we get that information, I think we'll be in a much better position to make a decision on whether or not that loan should be accommodated, or the loan request should be accommodated. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or debate? Councillor Wright?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Only a comment more than anything. Just really mindful of putting an organisation through, what could be a bit of an onerous exercise of providing a wad of paperwork for a particular item which might not necessarily have a lot of support from councillors as it stands. Although happy to see that information and make a further decision if that was the case at an upcoming council meeting. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments or debate? We'll vote on that. All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 23/53, welcoming cities membership for Dubbo Regional Council. Can I have someone move? Councillor Etheridge, second by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Etheridge, do you wish to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
It's okay, I get dog time.
Madam Chair.
All those in favour? Oh, any other question? Sorry, any more comments or debate?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
We'll just stop the construction.
Just a joke.
Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to actually thank the council to take that initiative, and because it's requested by Multicultural Advisory Committee to join this join this membership, because there's a lot of other council around here. They are being member and helping a lot of newcomers. So I'm pretty sure through this membership, council can take some initiative and helping welcome the new citizen in our city, so they will feel more welcoming here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Any other comments or debate? We'll do a vote. All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. There are no further items for consideration of the Culture and Community Committee, and I declare the meeting closed at the time being 6:18 p.m.
I now open the May 2023 Corporate Services Committee meeting, the time being 6:19 p.m. First item is CSC 23/21, leave of absence. There being no leave of absence, we move on. Item CSC 22, conflicts of interest. There's been no conflicts of interest declared on this meeting, so we'll move on. Item CSC 23, 23, report of the Audit, Risk and Management Committee meeting 20th of October 2022. Can I please have someone move that the report of the Audit and Risk Management Committee be noted? Councillor Etheridge, seconded Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Etheridge, did you want to speak to your motion?
No, thank you.
Any questions or debate, councillors? All those in favour? Against? Declare that motion carried. Next item is CSC 23/24, reports of the Financial Performance Committee, meetings 19th of July 22, 15th of February 23, 21st of March 23 and 16th of May 23. Can I please have someone move the reports of the Financial Performance Committee be noted? Councillor Ivey, thank you. Seconded Councillor Wright. Councillor Ivey, did you want to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr Chair.
Any questions or debate, councillors? Councillor Chowdhury.
Through you, Chair. Because for my previous role, I had to remove myself from that committee, but I changed my job and I can be adding to that committee, so I'm not sure what would be the procedure.
Mr CEO.
I'll take that on notice and work through that administration with you offline, Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you.
Any further questions or debate, councillors? If not, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? We declare that motion carried. Item CSC 23/25, monthly reporting snapshot for councillors for May 2023. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Chief Executive Officer? Councillor Wright, thank you. Seconded Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Wright, did you want to speak to the motion?
Just a comment that, look, to have these types of statistics and data presented in such a digestible and simple way for councillors and even for the community to understand how council's tracking, I think that's fantastic. If we can find more data that can be presented this way, I think that can only benefit council and their communication with community on how the business is tracking. So, well done.
Any further questions or debate, councillors? Being none, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? None against. We declare that motion carried. Item CSC 23/26, investment under Section 625 of the Local Government Act for May 2023. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Director of Organisational Performance? Thanks, Councillor Ivey. Seconded Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Ivey, did you want to questions or debate on that motion?
Perhaps just briefly, Mr Chairman, that it's pleasing to see that the stewardship of the finances seem to be well managed, and that council does seem to remain in a very sound, solid financial position.
Thanks, Councillor. Any further questions or debate? Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr Chair. Just a question regarding the comments on page 23 of that report. Just talks about the fact that NAB no longer providing custody services for the floating rate notes, and subsequently there was an investment of about 3.75 mil that was required to either be withdrawn and a new home found, or a new custodian as such. Just wondering if maybe through you, Mr Chair, how often does that type of thing takes place? What sort of issues does it cause for council? Just an unusual one.
Thanks, Councillor. Through Mr CEO.
We'll take the detailed question on notice, but it isn't common, hence it hasn't come up with you before. These are fairly normally standard reports that we bring to you in terms of our investment. So for this to come up, the reason we're flagging it for you is that it's quite a change. Ms Bathingthwaite, any further comments? We'll take that on notice and get you the detail post-session, Councillor Wright.
Any more comments or debate, councillors? Being none, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? I declare that motion carried. Item CSC 23/27, request for councillor representation, District Liaison Committee. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Emergency and Risk Team Leader? Councillor I'm not sure who there. Councillor Burns, seconded Councillor Etheridge. Thank you. We need an alternative motion, is it?
Or amendment.
We need an amendment to that motion for...
Just point of order, Mr Chair, I suggest that you'd debate that motion, and once that's approved, then you'd have a resolution to say you actually nominate then the 2 councillor members. So effectively this would be, approval of this recommendation would then allow you to take a further motion.
You happy with that? Okay. Councillor Burns, did you wish to speak to your motion?
No, thank you.
Any questions or debate, councillors? Not being none, put that motion. All those in favour? That motion is carried. So,
Then, sorry, Mr Chair, then probably call for a motion for the 2 councillor members. for example.
I'd like to ask someone to call for a motion for nominating the 2 council members for that committee, please. Councillor Ivey, Councillor Etheridge seconded. Thank you.
Well, I'll nominate that I'll move that the council nominate the mayor and Councillor Wright as the 2 council representatives on that district liaison committee.
Could I need a seconder for that? I've got Councillor Etheridge. Yep, okay. Comment, Mr CEO?
Yep. Councillors, I think it would be ideal to have a mayor or delegate. That just frees up so we're not locked in for those 2 councillors only. It allows us to have that alternative position should the mayor be unavailable.
You happy with that alternative,
yes,
Councillor Ivey?
Yes, Mr Chairman, I should have realised that was the preferable wording. I'm sorry. Yep.
Councillor Etheridge is seconder. You're happy with that?
Yeah, that's
fine. Okay. Any questions or debate, councillors? Being none, I put that motion. All those in favour? Against? We declare that motion carried. We got there. Under section 10A of the Local Government Act, item CSC 23/28 has been identified as likely to be discussed in a closed session of council. Can I now have someone move us into confidential session to deal with the confidential item? Councillor Goff, seconded Councillor Etheridge. We have had no applications from members of the public to make their representations regarding whether the meeting should be closed to the public. Do any members of the public? There are none, so that's okay. Any questions or debate, councillors? No. All those in favour? Against? And we call that carried. I declare the motion carried, and we will move into closed session, the time being 6:28 p.m. Good. Council will return to open session at 6:42 p.m. Welcome back. I now ask the Manager of Corporate Governance to read the resolutions from the confidential session.
Item CSC 23/28, 1, that Dubbo Regional Airport hangar site rental assessment valuation report be noted. 2, that Council resolves the Chief Executive Officer has the delegated authority to execute the new lease agreements as detailed in this report and in accordance with Table 6. 3, that it be noted the lease amount for 1 year is below market value and therefore can be considered as a financial assistance grant under Section 356 of the Local Government Act 1993. 4, that all documentation in relation to this matter remain confidential to Council. 5, that all leases be subject to commercial valuation at least every 5 years.
Okay. So, there are no further items for considerations of the Corporate Services Committee, and I declare the meeting closed, the time being 6:43 p.m. Web streaming has now been completed. Thank you for your attendance.